And welcome back, everyone, here to Live Now from Fox. I mean, just take a look at some of these just epic pictures taken by storm chaser photographer Aaron Rixby. I mean, these are stuff that you can put on the background of your computer, even have a couple in your office or in your home. I mean, these are just epic shots here. So let's bring him in right now. He's going to be talking to us live from his office right here. It's his car because he's always out and about. Aaron, thanks so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. These are such great images.
Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you know, when I saw you post on Instagram, it was funny because you used the hashtag Arizona, and it just came up in my feed like, oh, this is like a great shot. You should know more about it. And I was like, I'm glad he used that hashtag because now you're on.
Heck yeah, absolutely. That's a good thing about being a storm chaser like me. Sometimes people kind of confine their season to the Great Plains of Tornado Alley. Me, I go all over the country, including Arizona.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how long you've been doing this and just why this is your pure passion.
Yeah, so I've been storm chasing for 10 years now, and I'm 27 years old. So I've been pretty much storm chasing ever since the great state of originally of Ohio, now living in Colorado, gave me my driver's license. And originally, I was terrified of storms and I didn't want anything to do with them. And I even promised my parents that I would never, ever drive through Tornado Alley. And then, you know, you fast forward about 10, 15 years, here I am living in Tornado Alley and doing whatever I can to be in the, deepest part of the action. And I think the thing I love the most about storm chasing so much is that no storm is ever the same. Doing this for 10 years now, chasing full time for 4 years, chasing everything from the Mexico border to the Canadian border. No two storms are ever the same, and just when you think you've seen it all, Mother Nature throws you a bone, and it's something miraculous that you thought you would never see in your entire life.
Yeah, I mean, that must be amazing. Can you, I always wanted to know this, Aaron, about storm chasing and really photography. They're all in the mix. How do you plan it as far as like, all right, I think this is going to be the spot or the spot for a couple of days. How do you know that's going to be your sweet spot? Because at the end of the day, it's all a gamble still, right?
It absolutely is. Basically, we look at several computer models and we essentially put all of those together and kind of pinpoint a general area of where we think that the best area of the storms are going to be to form. And then a little bit closer to time, we look at the short range computer models, which we call the NAM or NAM, and it kind of helps us narrow it down maybe to our particular area of the certain state that we're thinking that storms are going to fire in. And then the day of, we used real-time data to be able to pinpoint exactly where the storms are going to fire, when, and if there's going to be tornadic potential. And the thing about storm chasing, I think that is the big misconception is that people think tornadoes happen all the time. I mean, you can chase all over the Great Plains. I can chase hundreds of storms and I'll maybe see 20 tornadoes a season. And that's with chasing nearly every single setup. And it's also not necessarily confined from April to June. That's the peak season. But we also see tornadoes anywhere from July even into January. The only month that I haven't seen a tornado yet, too, is because I'm usually busy hiking or busy doing hurricane stuff, is in July. So they can really happen any time of the year, and it keeps me busy year round.
And Aaron, just maybe explain to our viewers here just how social media has played a role in helping you get your name out there as well as your beautiful pics.
Yeah, it's honestly, I have it to thank for everything right now because I've only been doing freelance and storm chasing full time for the last, 4 or 5 years. And, initially starting out, I was working at a warehouse and I just got tired of missing these storms. And I got really bummed out whenever I wasn't able to be on something. So I took a chance and quit my full-time job and pursued freelance full time. And through the support of the social media community, sharing my work, commenting on it, buying my prints and airing my footage on national television outlets and getting opportunities like this, it's been able to help me fund my entire career. And the cool thing about it is when I initially started doing this, I'm gone from home so much that when I had an apartment, I was never there. So after my lease was up in Colorado, I actually built a bed in the back of my Subaru. And now I just roam around the country living out of my Subaru, doing freelance full time. And when I'm not storm chasing, I'm outdoors hiking. So I get to kind of combine the best of both worlds and really live out the dream that I, sought when I first started this, even as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, that is the definition of all in and really chasing your dream because, I mean, you're doing it the way you want to do it. And then also, I mean, it's cool that you're not going to miss anything now because you're in the car, you're in the vehicle. That's where you live as well, and you're capturing it all. What are some things that you have seen there for storm chasing that you're like, this is the moment as you're snapping? Is it a thunderstorm? Is it a lightning? Or is it of course the tornado that you're like, oh, here we go. This one could be the picture of my lifetime?
Funny enough, tornadoes really haven't been my big, heavy hitter viral images. It's usually been when I see really good storm structure. And a prime example of this was earlier this year in Malta, Montana, which is actually the picture that you're showing currently right now. There was a pretty slow season and a really frustrating one for most of the year. But all it took was that 1 week in June where I took a gamble and chased a overall pretty marginal day for severe weather up in northern Montana, nearly to the Canadian border. And when that storm, when I cleared that precip and saw the structure that had around the sunset time too, and the colors that it had, I knew at that moment that I was capturing something very special. You see lots of storms, you see lots of structure, doing this as a career, but this was hands down the most beautiful storm I have ever seen in storm chasing. And that's over the period of a decade. So that's saying something. And a couple of my colleagues that were on the same storm, they've been doing this for 20 plus years. And they said that this was either their number one or very close to it for their number one storm structure. And when I posted this originally on social media, I thought it would do well, but I did not think that it would do as well as it did. All of these images just went absolutely everywhere. There was pages with millions of followers sharing my work. It was aired all over every national news outlet. People were running prints. And as a small artist such as myself, it makes you feel on cloud nine because people are recognizing your work. And it makes you feel extra special because you captured a moment in time that only a handful of people saw because it was a marginal day. And the same thing happens when I chase these hurricanes along the Gulf Coast. There's been times when I've captured video that is in, documentaries now. It's going to be read about in textbooks. I get to share my story on several TV shows like Deadline to Disaster. And it makes you feel like you're doing something right, because it's a lot of hard work. A lot of people think, oh, you just go shoot video and you make money. That's great. And it's not the case. It's a lot of grinding. It's a lot of not sleeping. And it's a lot of, kind of refusing to take no as an answer. And you got to keep telling yourself that you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And all it takes is that one storm to do it, to make it possible.
Oh, yeah, I can just imagine the prep work that it goes into. And then at the end of the day, you really do got to believe in yourself and believe that you're going to be on the right path to where the storm could really play out for you. Aaron, can you describe some of the other photos that we have here? I'm just going to put some up full screen. I love this one. I mean, this one just is so powerful as well. Can you say what this one is?
Yeah, so that's actually a slightly different angle of the Malta, Montana supercell that I captured that I was talking about a little bit ago. And the car in front of me is actually one of my really good friends, Steven. And when he drove by me, because we were repositioning to get off of this mud road, I figured I only had about a half a second to think of this. And I was like, man, this would be a great perspective shot to just show how massive these storm clouds can be. And you see that full-size SUV in front of you, and it looks like a little toy car compared to this massive mothership supercell. It looks like something out of a movie where a UFO and aliens are about to abduct me into the sky above.
Yeah, it really does. And it really just shows you just how little we really are as humans there in perspective, especially the car. It looks, you're right, like a little toy box here. And then for our Arizona residents, I got to show this one because this is the one that was in my Facebook feed when you hashtagged it. So this was a throwback, and this is a big moment here in our history.
Yeah, this was in August of 2018. Severe thunderstorms fired southwest of Phoenix, Arizona. And this was actually the very first storm that I ever captured in Arizona. This was my first trip out here trying to chase these monsoonal storms. And I was with a good friend of mine, Mike Obinski, and we both were able to capture this moment as this haboob was coming into Tempe, Arizona, which is, it's not a super rare occurrence, but it really puts into perspective again just how massive that these storms are, because those are full-size skyscrapers that you're looking at in front of you. I mean, those are buildings. In a movie, it's usually something you see before the apocalypse takes over and the entire earth gets mowed. And then to add insult to injury, or just to kind of add to the story too, there's a full-size airplane taking off from, I assume, Phoenix or Tempe International Airport. And I can only imagine the view that those folks had, whether they were coming in for a landing or taking off, I'm not sure, but I'm extremely jealous of the view that they had. But I was glad that I was able to capture that into that image for even more scale of how big this haboob was.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that really just shows you the true perspective of it. And I think the people that are leaving, if they are in that airplane, they're like, wow, we just missed it, or we were not going to be able to take off there at all. Aaron, we just have a couple of more moments here. So tell us, what's next for your trips? What are you gearing up for?
Yeah, so I think my next, this is the time of the year where I start to pivot my momentum kind of toward those monsoonal thunderstorms again, kind of head maybe toward the desert Southwest and try and capture some lightning pictures of the canyons of Arizona, Utah, and even New Mexico. But this is also the time of the year where I'm paying really close attention to the Gulf of Mexico and the tropics for hurricane season. We're in kind of that middle ground period right now, but toward the end of July into early and mid-August is typically when we start seeing an uptick in that activity. And I usually take kind of my nomadic adventures along the Gulf Coast and just hang out there until a tropical storm system develops and, potentially impacts the Gulf Coast. Whether that'll happen or not this year, that's to be determined. But if it does, then I'll be there to capture it. And I also just hope I keep inspiring people along the way, with my adventures, because I want people to see that if, a small town kid, small town Ohio kid can chase quote unquote impossible dreams, maybe it'll inspire them to do the same.
Yeah, you definitely are doing it all in a true inspiration for so many. So keep it up. Stay safe out there and keep snapping away, because you got some great pictures there and a great career ahead. Aaron Rigsby, thank you so much. We truly appreciate it taking the time out to speak with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. You have a great weekend, and we continue on right here.